It's that time again, ladies and gentlemen, for the Political Pulpit. It's a late Monday night, but we moved the studio around and got things hooked up so we could finally go live. It's a new little space that we have at home, and we're doing our best to make sure it looks nice and cozy for our viewers at home and watching at whatever you're doing on your phone, on the road, at work, or listening to us later. We want to thank you for joining us. But there's been so much going on in our lives as we continue to press on and fight for truth and the gospel of Jesus. Right now, there's so many divisive conversations. I don't even know where to begin. But we're going to go ahead and talk about 3 or 4 main topics that you guys are probably already conditioned to hear about. But let's give it a shot from our perspective. We want to go ahead and jump into the entire shutdown situation that's still going on. This is the longest shutdown that we've ever experienced, right, in American history. And it's still going on, and the left wants to blame the right, and the right wants to blame the left. What's truly happening? We're going to dive right into that Candace Owens saga, and all of a sudden, her just disdain for everybody. She's just after everybody. But I want to give you a little bit of insight from my perspective and a few other things. By the way, Christians are being persecuted. We've been talking about this. The mainstream media has been silent, but finally, the president of the United States has mentioned it, and it looks like we're going to hopefully fight against it, because pastors and Christians and people that are worshiping Jesus, that believe in the gospel that you and I so freely worship at our churches and our homes, are being killed right in front of the world stage. So let's get into that as soon as we come right back.
We pray for love and unity, and that the church would find new zeal and commitment to the mission and purpose of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
You're a liar! You're a liar!
Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart.
A late one. It is a late one today, but that's all right. We are going to continue to press on, press forward, and make sure we get the word out. Thank you for joining us on the Political Pulpit. I'm your host, Josh Navarrete, and it's so great to be back on the program. This is probably going to be considered our night out broadcast, but I know there's some of you that are still up scrolling and you're stuck in doom scroll and you got that little notification. Well, don't just watch the video, hit the like button, but please share and subscribe if you can. It helps us break through the algorithm. And if you stick with us a little bit longer, jump in the comments. Why don't you jump in the comments and let everybody know you are here? That way you can tell us where you're watching from, and we will respond, and it's going to help build up our case so that the world can see what we're doing. All right, so let's get into it. The government shutdown. How many know what's going on? Well, I mean, we hear about it. It's probably hit some of your pocketbooks, but why? The left wants to blame the right wants to blame the left. What truly is going on? Well, it sounds like, in my opinion, from what I've researched and from what I've seen, is that the government is completely, that's the obvious, right? But why is it? The Republicans, they want a clean resolution to pass, meaning the way it was, pass it on, fund the government, and they'll fix it later. The left says, well, insurance policies and premiums are about to go up. So what we don't want to do is add government subsidies to kind of suppress those premiums from going up. But we need to add $1.3 to $1.5 trillion to that. And of course, usually in those big fatty packets, there's other things that are worked in there. So that's the big argument in a nutshell. Now what's happening? Well, they're blaming the president for canceling out SNAP and EBT and other resources for those that can't afford healthcare, cash, food. They're not working. But there's the other problem there where people are abusing those government programs. So it's basically saying that we're standing off. We're not going to add any more money to that until you vote, Democrats, for a clean resolution bill. The Democrats are saying, no, we want that 1.3 to 1.5 trillion. I don't even know if that's the number anymore. It could have gone up. Instead of, and the big, from what I'm seeing, and you guys might correct me if I'm wrong, let me know if what you're seeing is different. But from what I'm seeing, this is all coming down to Obamacare. In the end, there's going to be a big fight when it comes to healthcare. Healthcare premiums are skyrocketing. You feel it, I feel it, everybody's feeling it, and it's all going to come down to Obamacare. It's all going to come down to money that's going to be flowed back into the American economy and where money is spent. Don't believe this, though. Or you have to understand, government subsidies are just a Band-Aid. They're just a mask over the bigger problem. That just means they're going to pump money back into the government, back into these programs to suppress what seems to be a spike in healthcare premiums. So they're basically, the government is going to pay for those premiums. But let's back up a little bit. If the government's paying for it, that means you and I are paying for it somewhere, somehow. You're a taxpayer, I'm a taxpayer. That means that money gets taxed down to you and I. I don't think that's a great idea. I think we fund the government, get it started, get it going. We're going to see a lot of stuff happen as we move to the new year. But that tells me that the Republican in the Senate and the House, along with Democrats, need to figure out a solution for these healthcare premiums that are going to go crazy in January. This is going to go bananas. But what they don't want to happen, and let's be honest, those that fought for Obamacare, that they don't want President Donald Trump to hijack or change Obamacare. Personally, it never worked for us. For my family, healthcare would have we had to privatize because it doesn't make any sense. I went going years without healthcare because of the cost of healthcare. I'd rather be self-pay in many instances, and I'm not giving any healthcare advice, but we only see the doctor, if never, unless we absolutely have to. We don't really go to the doctors. We're in control of our own healthcare, our own bodies. We do a great job at taking care of our bodies so that we are not in trouble and visiting, the doctors and having prescriptions and going to the hospital. Now, realistically speaking, there's a lot of people that have underlying health conditions that need those things. I understand. I'm not being insensitive to the fact that that's the case for many people, many Americans. But the cost that is happening altogether on healthcare is going to be astronomical. It already is. And so in order to pass these bills, a clean resolution bill, to fund the government so that EPT is funded, so that what's the other one? The health care and the government care that people get for their families that need it gets funded. I think there's this big fight that they're saying that President Donald Trump is canceling those things. Well, no, the money's not there. And then they're saying, drives me crazy. He's worried about the ballroom and he's worried about other countries. Well, he's worried about being a president and making this country a free world and a free country, allowing it to be a free country. So it's not that he's not doing his job. It's that the House and the Senate need to do their job. We need the Democrats to vote with us to fund the government, not to pump more money into government subsidies, which still costs you and I. All right, so let's get into some of that stuff here. We have some clips that I want to show you, and just the staffing shortages that are happening. Let's not forget. If you're a traveler, air traffic control, there are people that are not going to work anymore because they are not getting paid. Do you blame them? I don't know. It's tough. We're in a tough place, and it's about to get real, guys. It's about to get very, very interesting. Let's take a look at this first clip.
Controllers are coming off their worst weekend for staffing shortages since the shutdown set in more than a month ago now. Between Friday and Saturday night, there were 98 staffing trigger reports at FAA facilities. That's the terminology they use. That means controllers had to make changes, rerouting planes, delaying flights, and beyond to keep the airspace safe with fewer people on staff. Controllers are considered essential staff, are required to continue working even though they are not being paid, have not been paid now for a month. Transportation Secretary says, well, some of them have used sick days. Other controllers are taking time off to work jobs that will actually pay them. CNN's Pete Montine has been tracking all of this for us throughout, and it looks like We hit a bit of a turning point this weekend, Pete.
Yeah, it was a tough one, tracking all of it, and it's been a lot. So far, the biggest concerns for delays today are bad weather in Atlanta, Charlotte, and Nashville, also San Francisco, but no major staffing concerns yet. But history has shown us that things can change so fast. It's exactly how we started out Friday, which kicked off this worst weekend for air traffic control staffing shortages since the start of this shutdown.
All right, so we're going to see tons of staffing shortages, but I think the bigger picture is people are going to lose their cash or their assistance from the government. That's the other stuff that's really going to get crazy. If you're being honest, something does have to change there. Now, we can get into all of that because I know a lot of people want to say that the president is, he doesn't care about the less. He's only about the 1% in the billionaire class. I disagree with that. I think it starts with regulating these programs. And it's hard to talk about that within the shutdown because it's completely empty, but the money was run out. I mean, there's no money. So where do you get that money from? I heard Schumer say the other day, there's money in this other purse per se that can go towards the government. I don't really know what that looks like, but I do know that it could get passed and could get funded if we basically go into a clean resolution bill. That means the Democrats have voted this way several times before throughout the last 4 or 5 years. Now they can do it again if we're really being honest, they don't want Republicans to make different changes through this next term so that they get credit for the wins. That's just how it seems to me. People are going to get hurt. People are going to starve. People are knocking on church doors looking for cash assistance. I'm getting phone calls to our church office right now for cash assistance because people are running out of cash and help. What I think could happen, and I hope that people those that are normally not getting jobs because they have money just to stay at home, go start looking for jobs. This might be one of those tough times before it gets better. Not that I'm all for not helping the less fortunate, because we need to help the elderly and those that are unable to work. Absolutely. But that could be a result. Let's take a look at this.
What do you want people in Washington, D.C. to know about the shutdown and the fact that this...
Hurry up and get the job done and worry about the people, not about themselves.
Worry
about the people. 3 lines of cars snaked around St. Mary's Food Bank in West Phoenix this past week ahead of the expected weekend cutoff of food stamp benefits for 900,000 Arizonans.
There's even this video where I saw people taking their family and taking their kids to a Target or a Walmart, and they're running out with groceries. I don't know. That's probably, if this doesn't get resolved, a lot of this stuff is going to keep happening, guys. Just saying. So we're going to have to, hang on tight because it could get real. I'm just curious to see what's going to happen. All right. So prayers to all those that are hurt, and prayers to those that need it and that aren't getting it. We're pressing for the right things to happen in government, and that everybody kind of, use cooler minds, cooler heads, and let's get a pass. Why don't you call, if you're living in a district or living in an area and you have a senator or Republican that could vote for this new clean bill to get the government funded, why don't you call them up and say, hey, I voted for you, by the way, we are hurting, pass the bill. Pass the bill and figure it out. That's all they're asking. Tell your neighbor, turn to your neighbor and say, pass the bill and figure it out. Actually call your senator and call your congressman and say, pass the bill and figure it out. All right, I'll let you guys know I love finding these little videos and showing them to you. This one is about Marxism, and I want you all to take a look at this.
Marxism is everywhere. $110 million people have been murdered because of it. Lenin tried it in the Soviet Union. It didn't work. Mao tried it in communist China. It didn't work. Fidel Castro tried it in Cuba. It didn't work. Maduro tried it in Venezuela. It didn't work.
The word socialism has crept into our political vocabulary more frequently in recent years.
Today we really prove that socialism wins.
The rise of socialism has never been more clear. Right now in America, there are forces dug in, organized, and well-funded, doing whatever is necessary to make socialism happen.
We fight for equality, but we also need to fight for equity, understanding not everyone starts out at the same place. And if we want people to be in an equal place, sometimes we have to take into account those disparities.
A lot of people think socialism, it's all about equality and free stuff. What socialism is really about, it's starvation.
Socialism is not free stuff. Socialism is death, it's despair, it's starvation. It is the government control the means of production.
Don't ever shy away from our progressive values. One person's socialism is another person's neighborliness.
Support the Medicare for All bill. I think initially co-sponsored by Senator Bernie Sanders. You're also a co-sponsor on it. I believe it will totally eliminate private insurance. So for people out there who like their insurance, they don't get to keep it?
Well, listen, the idea is that everyone gets access to medical care.
America will never be destroyed from the outside. If we falter and lose our freedoms, it will be because we destroyed ourselves.
Wherever true socialism or communism has been adopted, it has delivered anguish and devastation and failure. Those who preach the tenets of these discredited ideologies only contribute to the continued suffering of the people who live under these cruel systems. America stands with every person living under a brutal regime. All people deserve a government that cares for their safety, their interests, and their well-being, including their prosperity.
All right, so there you have it. Socialism does not bring free stuff. And way too many people in America are very, very tempted for free stuff, free healthcare, free groceries, an equal playing field. That hasn't worked yet, and it's not going to work now. And there's people like, we're going to get into them, running for mayor out of New York, Mondami, whatever his name is trotting around in the streets of New York saying everybody's going to start on a free bus fare, free this, free that, controlling the grocery stores and prices. Yeah, good luck. Let's see how that works out for everybody. You're going to have a lot of people. I think there was like a poll that was done that said there was over 700,000 people claim that they're going to leave New York City. I just think, man, it's a bad look. It's a bad idea. If I would be very careful with that. And if you're in New York, you're probably, way into your REM cycle now. So you're not going to see this. If this makes it that way, go out and vote for the right choice. And I never thought I'd say go vote for Cuomo. But hey, it's better than this Mamdani guy. President Donald Trump says if communist candidate Zohran Mamdani wins the election for mayor of New York City, it is highly unlikely that I will be contributing federal funds, other than the very minimum as required, to my beloved first home, because of the fact that as a communist, this once great city has zero chance of success or even survival. It can only get worse with a communist at the helm, and I don't want to send, as president, good money after bad. It is my obligation to run the nation, and it is my strong conviction that the New York City will be a complete and total economic and social disaster should Mamdani win. His principles have been tested for over 1,000 years, and never once they have been never once been successful. And I would much rather see a Democrat who has had a record of success win than a communist with no experience and a record of complete and total failure. He was nothing as an assemblyman. ranked at the bottom of the class, and as mayor of potentially, again, the greatest city in the world, he has no chance to bring it back to its former glory. We must remember this. A vote for Curtis Sliwa, who looks much better without the beret, is a vote for Mamdani. If you waste your vote for this guy, you're basically giving your vote to Mamdani. Don't waste your vote. Go vote for Cuomo. Ugh. Anyways, it's better than this, I'm telling you. And whether you personally like Andrew Cuomo or not, you really have no choice. And that's the point. You must vote for him and hope he does a fantastic job. He is capable of it. Mamdani is not. Now, there was there was this video that he posted after he supposedly, and I wish I could have found it before we got going, but it was getting so late, so I had to do something quickly. There was this video that he posted, and he was walking out, and there was all his Muslim friends and people that were whatever behind him, and they were basically saying that he's been persecuted for so long for being Muslim, called a terrorist, called an extremist, called all these things, and he was basically victimizing himself and his family because of 9/11. And it just seemed for the rest of America, it's a little bit insensitive that he was using the loss of 9/11 and all that happened to America as his platform. Now, let's be honest about something. I remember specifically just down the road from our house, somebody went into, because of the rhetoric and because of the anxiety that existed after 9/11. How many remember? I remember exactly where I was. I remember watching the towers fall. I remember it all. And I also remember our churches being jam-packed because people were in fear for what was about to happen. Now, I also remember this, that somebody went into a Circle K just down the road, and because the gentleman that was running the counter, who also owned the 7-Eleven, looked Muslim to him, but he was of the Sikh religion, who had the turban or the wrap on his head. He shot him dead. And it rocked the city because these were good people. Now, are there bad people that are extremists? Absolutely. But to use 9/11 as your platform to be victimized and to appeal to the rest of the Muslim community in that city is just very, very, to me, it's a dumb move. And it shows, let's be honest, it shows the mockery of it all. It just shows like this guy is very, very charismatic. He speaks well. He smiles, but their beliefs aren't the same. The way the moral compass does not align with the American Christian background and foundation. And we can't forget where we've come from. We can't forget that this nation is founded on principles that work, on principles like Christian principles that have worked for decades and for years for us, for our nation. That's why we were blessed for many, many different reasons. I want to show you guys this post from Raw Alert. It says this: a 92-year-old Holocaust survivor cast her first ever vote to support Cuomo, saying she did so to stop Mamdani. She said, if I've never voted before, she explained, I'm voting because I believe Mamdani holds anti-Semitic views and promotes dangerous fiscal policies. She's absolutely right. And there's, Mr. Cuomo smiling or smirking. Now, I think today, if you're in New York and you see this in the morning, it's going to be time to vote. Let's just jump to the comments really quick. It's Santiago Villegas says, this looks like fear hitting the street. Pray and share with your neighbor to help out. Love your neighbor. Yes, absolutely love your neighbor. Help the poor. Pray for them. If you can share, do so, but don't, it's, you do what you can, right? We do what we can. And then she also goes on to say, those who control the food, control the people. Let's all see that we need to have people working so this doesn't happen. And socialism never works. You are absolutely right. Thank you for jumping in the comments. And if you're watching, give us an amen, give us a shout out, say hello, and let us know you are there. Okay, so I want to get into the next video. This is Zoran and his whole setup there. Let's take a look at what he's saying here.
I just want to ask everyone in this crowd, if you can raise your hand if you have been called a terrorist while living in this city. Yes. If you can raise your hand if you, I just want to ask everyone in this crowd, if you can raise your hand if you have been called a terrorist while living in this city. Yes. If you can raise your hand.
Okay, so he's trying to victimize everybody and say, because of your belief, you've been called this, you've been called that, and use that as fuel to get people to get on his side. Really, there's a movement. Let's be honest. There is a movement in America, but I also want to remind our Christian brothers and sisters out there, stand on truth. Stand on what you believe. What God has given you is power in his name. He's giving you victory over Satan. He's giving you victory over the devil, over the enemy. He's giving you strength to stand up. And we know this to be true, that Jesus Christ came to this earth. God manifested in the flesh by the power of his word. He died. He was buried. He went to the depths of hell, took the keys back from the enemy, and resurrected once again so that your hands can be free. His hands were bound so that ours could be free. And he is Lord. Jesus Christ is Lord over our lives. That's what our nation was founded on. Judeo-Christian values. Jesus Christ, the Messiah. That's our values. No other God before. No, there is no other God. There is no prophet, no Muhammad, no facetious, nobody who came and was meant by some angel of light and was deceived, because the Bible talks about angels of light deceiving many. And this is that example. I don't want to get into all of that stuff, but the point is that we have to be careful that we allow people get into office. This is why we've been fighting. This is exactly why we continue to press forward and press and make sure that righteousness to the best of our ability and our Christian values are taken to government offices, because those that founded our country were just that. They were Christians. They had many different backgrounds, but they also believed in Jesus Christ. They believed in God, our Savior. And that's how I believe that the Constitution was founded by. Yes, America has sins, America has faults, but give me one nation that doesn't. This is still the best country. This is still the best nation that you could ever live in. This is still the most free nation in the world, and we have to keep it that way. Where these beliefs stem from, where these people come from, the countries they fled and flooded our country, those things that they stood for didn't work, so they fled where they came from, and now they want to. It's the same concept, like, don't California my Arizona. You voted a certain way, and you got what you voted for, and now you don't like it, so you flee, come to our city, our state, and try to vote like you did in California, as if it didn't work. So here's the same thing on a huge, giant scale. This is why we continue to make these things known, pray against them, and if you're going to vote tomorrow, or you see this early in the morning, make sure you vote the right way. Make sure you vote the right way, because the nation is at war with itself, within itself. This nation is at war within itself. All right, so if those that are watching and you see this in the morning, here's a little good morning to you guys. Take a look.
This nation was built on law, order, and pride. Immigrants came through the front door with papers in hand and hearts full of hope. But that America was betrayed by Democrats. They didn't lose control of the border. They opened the floodgates on purpose. 20 million poured in. Cartels, rapists, traffickers, funded by you, enabled by them. This wasn't immigration, it was an invasion. By design. And we paid the price. In chaos, in crime, in blood, while traders in suits handed out benefits with our money. But now comes the reckoning. We're not deporting immigrants. We're deporting lawlessness and those who sold this country out. Law, order, sovereignty. Without them, we don't have a country. So now it's time for retribution, for justice. You don't get to destroy America and stay in it.
All right. I always love these videos from Dilly Studios. They're always so good. Okay. Now let's get back into it. I wanted to, so y'all saw where they're talking. It really is about illegal immigration. I do gotta say, I think the optics is not great. I mean, that's probably not a popular take. So if you guys, I still feel like we have to show compassion, as the Bible says, to foreign people. That doesn't mean we let them break the law. That's not what I'm saying. I just don't like the optics right now. And, you know, I'm more than willing to hear your guys' take on this. But the optics on some of the videos of ICE going into and just kind of taking, you know, moms and right in front of their kids. And I know why it's done. And it's just so disheartening. There has to be a better process, because what we're seeing, and if you guys are seeing this at your churches, if you're seeing something like this, is that there are kids that go to public school and they're afraid to come home because the parents might be, you know, deported. So they live with that fear. And it's probably because they're watching Telemundo and, you know, the other stations. And if you ever watch those, man, you don't even have to understand what the station is saying. It's like scary music the whole time. You might as well play Michael Myers music and show video clips with people talking in front of them, because it's the most fearful channels you can watch. So scary, so doom and gloom. And that's how they appeal to the Hispanic heart, is making them fearful of everything. And so now these kids, they go to school and they're kind of like, they're afraid because they're being told that their parents could be taken at any minute, can be raided at Home Depot, you know, whatever they're saying. So the optics aren't great. And then, you know, there has to be a stronger effort, or at least messaging effort, on criminals. Now, there are many that are saying this, that those that have come illegally, there are criminals. Yeah, I agree, 100%. But let's go after the violent ones first. Let's clean house. Violent criminals, those are the ones that are dangerous to us, right? You know, and there's plenty of them. Let's go get them. I 1,000,000% violent criminals. And there's plenty that were dumped out of other nations' prisons and flooded this way. Plenty to get. President Donald Trump said the other day he thinks it's upwards around 25 million people that came over here. All right, so that means there's a lot of violent people that came that we can go get. I don't. So you know, there's like some heartstrings there that I'm wrestling with, and you guys maybe can help me with that. But I think we could do better. And I remember there was a candidate, and I'm not going to say his name. He was running for Senate about 4 years ago now. About 3.5 years ago. And one of the things he said is that if you let the government deport all the illegals, they'll deport the wrong people. And I always thought, that's an interesting statement, and that's probably not going to be a very popular one. And you know what? He's kind of hit something. It's like 3.5 years later, I'm seeing something there. I'm always going to support legal immigration. I'm always going to support a closed border wall. I'm always going to support legal processing and process to get into this country. 100,000%. I love the idea of securing. I just feel like I don't know that it's ever going to get done. I just don't feel like it's ever going to get done, because there's so many lobbyists that are involved. There's so many people that, you know, there's money involved, and then you got the cartel making a mess of everything. I mean, if you all just heard that the mayor of Michoacan was just killed in broad, you know, right in front of everybody. They're at a festival and they shot him dead. These are the cartels. You know, these are the same people that are dealing back and forth at our border. Now, there's talks right now, some of these border towns in Arizona or just across from Arizona are fighting. So, you know, we can't even go visit one of our favorite spots because of the fighting between cartels. So, you know, it'd be great if that country would clean up their cartel mess. But, you know, there's that problem. And then everybody's upset at President Donald Trump for blowing up drug boats that are in, you know, neutral waters or whatever you call it. I can't remember the name. But that stuff is killing American people. American families are suffering because of the drugs that come by. In the last 4 years, I ran into several people because we pastor a church alongside our parents, Bishop Santos and Josh Navarrete, is that some of young people were driving people from the border driving people from the border, people that we knew or we heard of that took $5,000 to go pick somebody up and take them north. And then the cops would stop them and they could do nothing about it. They just got a slap on the hand. It was chaos. So I get it. We got to clean it up. We have to clean it up. But we don't have to be heartless, they're breaking the law. I get it. But there's also some really bad people out there that we can go get. I don't know. Oh, thank you, Santiago. Sex trafficking and human trafficking is out of this world. And thank God for the FBI now, because now they're going hard and rescuing thousands of children that have gone missing. So that whole conversation of the border is so important. See, we got healthcare, we got the border, we got the economy that's still a mess. And it's improving. Thank God the Fed's finally dropped some interest rates here. They did it twice, but it needs to come way lower because, man, it's looking kind of crazy. And I'm still waiting for these gas prices to drop and groceries to go down. Things still need to happen. There's a lot of work to be done. And the last thing we need is the Senate, Republicans in Congress and Democrats to be fighting over just fun. We can't even get the government to run, give us to run efficiently right now because they want to fight over $1 trillion to go to government subsidies. This is a clean bill that basically was a Democratic bill. Transfer it over, but they don't want the Republicans to win. And I'm just going to say it. That's what it is. That's exactly what it is. All right. I got a couple more things to show you. Man, it got late quick. 36 minutes. So this is something on the world stage, guys. President Donald Trump he was trying to get cornered by this. It was totally obvious. She was driving me nuts. It's from 60 Minutes. Go figure. But take a look.
I know you have said that Xi Jinping wouldn't dare move militarily on Taiwan while you're in office. But what if he does? Would you order U.S. forces to defend Taiwan?
You'll find out if it happens. And he understands the answer to that.
Why not say
This
it?
never even came up yesterday as a subject. He never brought it up. People were a little surprised at that. He never brought it up because he understands it, and he understands it very well.
Do you mind if I ask, when you say he understands, why not communicate that publicly to the rest of us? What does he
Because I don't
understand?
want to give away. I can't give away my secrets. I don't want to be one of these guys that tells you exactly what's going to happen if something happens. The other side knows, but I'm not somebody that tells you everything because you're asking me a question, but they understand what's going to happen. And he has openly said, and his people have openly said at meetings, we would never do anything while President Trump is president.
So, one, they know that President Trump's crazy. He don't play. I mean, let's be honest. He's going to blow up a drug boat at the drop of a dime. Thank you. Because that's the comments here say they're killing American families, American kids, trafficking Americans, and young children are going missing. So yeah, let's blow up the drug boat. Why not? International Waters is what the name is. And don't you just love how people like 60 Minutes, they try to pick at the president. They'll never ask these questions to anybody else. But it's basically why won't you tell us? What are you keeping from us? And he's like, why would I give up my cards, my hand? Why would I show why would I show the strategy? Well, duh. You want the other nations to be cautious and be very careful on how they approach American allies. You don't want to give up your hand and say, well, we know they're going to attack if we go into Taiwan, so we're going to be ready. And I'm sure they're already thinking that. But, they're always trying to pin him on stuff. And he's really good at that stuff anyway. He don't take a bite. So, all right, new clip here. It says that now that America has removed mercury from all vaccines, I call on every global health authority to do the same to ensure that no child anywhere in the world is ever exposed to this deadly neurotoxin. Again, I wanted to show this because I'm like, can you guys believe that we just had mercury just chilling in our vaccines and we didn't need it?
Hi, I'm Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and I send my greetings to all the distinguished delegates of the Mid-Atlantic Convention. I had hoped to be with you today, but the government shutdown means that I couldn't do that. The Mid-Atlantic Convention was born from a shared moral conviction that no human being should suffer from exposure to mercury. You came together to protect future generations from this potent neurotoxin, and I'm looking forward to continued progress. Article 4 of the convention calls on parties to cut mercury use by phasing out listed mercury-added products. But in 2010, as the treaty took shape, negotiators made a major exception. Thimerosal-containing vaccines were carved out of the regulation. The same treaty that began to phase out mercury in lamps and cosmetics chose to leave it in products injected into babies, pregnant women, and the most vulnerable among us.
Isn't that crazy? Why? Is there like, am I missing something? There's like some sort of value in mercury, and just who gets money for that? Because that's got to be the only way. That would be really the only way to keep something dangerous that's widely used, basically required of every human being. So there's got to be something. Somebody's making some money, some lobbyists out there. But thank God it's being phased out into this organization. Thank you for working so hard. I don't know much about it, but I do know this, that RFK here is doing a phenomenal job. And I love it. I love it. We got to keep these things safe. And, you know, we don't do the whole vaccine thing. That's just us. I'm not trying to tell you guys what to do. That's just what we do because it's just too dangerous. All right, let's get into a little bit with this Candace thing. There's a few things that I want to tell you guys about. And I don't really want to show the videos of Candace because I'm just over it. And she does this thing where she's like, you know, Charlie Kirk, he was this, okay, and he's my friend, okay. She drives me crazy. But the reason why I'm listening to it is just to see what she says. I'll try to catch some of the highlights, right, and see some of the things that she's saying. By the way, a lot of the stuff that I do know she's talking about, I've been talking about a long time in private, but it's not going to wane my support for Charlie Kirk's work and his life's legacy. One thing I do want to point out, this is a little bit old news, guys. She tried to go at Mikey McCoy. I don't know Mikey McCoy at all. I maybe have seen him a few times, but I have never shook his hand, I couldn't give you a gauge on the type of person he is in a room. But I could tell you this, that she's going after his reaction time during the shooting. And this is why I think conspiracies, you guys got to be so careful when it comes to conspiracies because they're so ridiculous sometimes. And it's this desire that we naturally have for answers. We want some sort of answer so bad that we accidentally or inadvertently believe the next best answer, which doesn't mean it's the right one. Candace is really good at she's really good at painting this picture that she's onto something and she's going to share more next time. So that's the thing that's really driving me crazy about this whole thing, because it's always like a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Her biggest bombshell was that whole text thread. He was frustrated because somebody was trying to strong arm him with the $1 million. Like, that's huge money for an organization. I don't care who you are. Yeah, they operated on $120 or $180 million budget, but $1 million a year is pretty crazy, or $2 million a year, whatever it was. So he was upset because he didn't want to back down to what that person, he's got friends that were there for him, that have been there for them. They collectively, these people got the Republican ticket, down ticket. Everybody won that we needed to win pretty much to make sure that we had a successful 2024-25 election cycle and get President Donald Trump in office. He's frustrated because people are trying to strong arm him. That's what that whole text message was about. Now, I'll get into this part. Thanks, Santiago, for joining us. You're awesome. She says she's working the poll. Let's just put that up for her. She's working at the polls early. Thank you, Patriots and Pastor Josh. Great podcast. I appreciate her help. She's been so good to us. Thank you so much. Good night. But we will be on again tomorrow. So the other thing is this, that she was spending so much time talking about how's reaction time, seeing his friend get shot, walking away. Now, one thing's for sure. I know this for sure, is that he wasn't actually on the phone like people say he was, although he was sending out clips and all those things, which if you've been around campaigns, been around these movements, you have people around you or in the room that's all they do. If you go to these big organizations and your inner circle, man, they're blazing. They're on their phones. That's what they do. That's their job. Sending clips, communications, PR, whatever. They're working. That's what Mikey was doing. Shot rings out, loud, sees what he sees, walks away in utter shock. Now, I'm going to say this. I have seen someone get shot five times right in front of me. I was a young kid, and we were at this camp. And what happened was I was on one side getting something out of a vehicle, and there was a little mini river down just below. And on the other side, there was other campers that were on that side. We were kind of like in a church environment, church camp. And then the other side was they were just like freely showing up camping, but they were like drunk and partying and loud music. And so they were all drunk. And I go to get something out of my car and I hear all the commotion. This guy's fighting, he's yelling, don't get any closer, don't get any closer. Shoots him 5 times, boom, 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 boom. I stood there and I just watched the whole thing. I watched the argument. I saw the gun being pulled. I saw the gun being pointed, and I saw the action take place. I don't know why, but I didn't run. I didn't take cover. I finished grabbing my stuff, and I think I was just kind of like in shock. I walked fairly fast. I didn't run back to where we were hanging out, and I actually told my parents about it. They heard the commotion. They weren't sure, and they just said, no, just stay over here. Here's the other thing I noticed, that the people that were in the bank or the river bottom, some kind of ducked and walked back and hurried out. And then some, I remember turning around and looking up and just watching. It was kind of surreal. It's crazy. It didn't make any sense. And it just to show you that everyone has different reactions. I had a completely different reaction. I've been in different situations or have been pretty tragic. And, not everybody has the flight mechanism. It's either fight, flight, or hang out, I guess. I don't know. And I think that the gravity of it all, the reality of it all, and the poise that Mikey McCoy has was to walk away in utter shock and get to work for Charlie. Because literally, what was he going to do? I mean, Charlie instantly had people tending to him. Was he going to get in the way? Was he going to try to, help him? Is he medically trained? I don't think so. He went to work for Charlie, is what he did. And his directives apparently were to call Erica. So Candace, this whole thing, I feel really bad that she's going hard. And there's 2 people that aren't mentioning each other. And I'm about to get into this. I'd love to hear it. And it makes me wonder why. It's almost like they don't want to fight. And that's Candace and Brandon Tatum. Now, Brandon, he's we've talked a few times. I have a picture of us kind of going at it on theology. Not going at it. We were in agreement, but it was a really cool conversation I had with him about theology. And I love his show. I love watching Brandon. I suggest you guys, he's already got thousands and thousands, and I think it's millions now of viewers and subscribers, but great podcast. I love his perspective on things, but he never talks about her. He never says who he's referring to. He refers to her, but he doesn't just seal the deal. Just clean this up, because your friend who you Ryan Blexit with is going bananas. She's going crazy. She's really, really veering off there. And if she cared for Charlie, why? She's saying that she wants the truth. She's saying that she wants, and we all want the truth, by the way. And maybe there is some truth to what she's saying. But man, going after his organization. And I think what she would say is I'm not going after the organization. I'm going at people that betrayed my friend. I honestly don't think that Charlie was going against Israel. I think he was frustrated with some donors that just so happened to be Jewish. I don't think Charlie was going after the Jews, as she's making it seem like. There's this tab here from Israel War Room. I called it a tab, but it's a post. And they put this post out today. It says, Charlie Kirk, founder of TPUSA, will be posthumously honored at Israel's 2025 Christian Media Summit in recognition of his courageous stand for truth and steadfast support of Israel. And then it also says, Miss Erica Kirk will accept the award on her husband's behalf. A moving tribute to a man who inspired millions to stand with Israel when it mattered the most. The Pillars of Jerusalem Award, inspired by the verse teaching that the world stands upon justice, truth, and peace, will also be presented to Douglas K. Murray and Yael Eckstein and Dr. Jürgen Buhl. I can't say that name. But here's Charlie. And where's my cursor? There you are. Look at him. Come on. I mean, he's younger there. But, he wasn't anti-Israel. Let's stop it. Just stop it. And man, I don't know how somehow, some way. Brandon, come on, man. Call her out. Call her out. It's time. You don't have to fight. You don't have to be, enemies. But he's got great insight. I love the things. I love his angles. I love the way he says it. I love his approach to it. He's just real about it. And that's what we need. And then, speaking of that, I want you guys to see this clip. He ran the show today, or was on the show, the Charlie Kirk show. And this is what he says.
Because a lot of people out there are not investigators. They don't have a law enforcement background, and they love Charlie, and they want to get truth. They want to get justice. So I do have a lot of grace. I understand why there's distrust, but please, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you so much for saying that. This stuff is very simple. All you have to do is have some type of experience like I do. I was trained on investigating. I investigated crimes myself. I testified in court. And you have that, plus you have wisdom, and you're reasonable, and you believe in God. So then you have godly wisdom in how you should articulate or put out information or disseminate information to the people that God is giving you that follows you. And like you said, Andrew, I understand that people are hurting and people are looking for answers and people don't know what they're talking about a lot of the times, and they're doing it in good faith, but they're just lost. It's like almost every police shooting that I cover. A lot of people don't understand use of force policy. They don't understand the law. They don't understand how the law is prosecuted. And so they are off on it, even though they have good intentions. Now, there's a difference between someone who's off on it in good faith with good intentions versus someone who know better and just out there spewing hatred and stupidity because they want to get clicks and subscribers and make money off of it. That is the difference. That is the difference between the anger point for me, is that if somebody just don't know, I get it. I mean, people don't understand investigations, but then people who should know better that's saying it is the ones that bother me the most. This stuff is very simple. You're like, if you really want to know what's going on in the case, as a civilian person, right? We don't have access to records that they submitted to court. We don't have text messages. We have none of these people that are out here talking has interviewed anybody. Witnesses, suspects, parents. They have no evidence. They didn't look at forensics, so they have no idea what they're talking about. However, if you, as a civilian person, if you want to know or get a synopsis of what could happen and what evidence they may have, read the affidavit. Read the probable cause statement that was submitted to court. When you write a probable cause statement as a law enforcement agency, you cannot lie or deceive or put information in that's not true. Because when you get to trial and they have the initial hearing, if you don't have evidence to what you've said, which you've sworn under penalty of perjury, that is true, your case is completely thrown out. And you cannot convince me somebody like Kesh Patel and those guys are willing to throw away their entire career and legacy to botch the most important case of our lifetime.
That's good. That's good. I mean, really what it's about is evidence. And I know others are saying, and his friend, by the way, his friend Candace says that she has evidence, and she's like walking down this whole flight log. And I don't know, it is kind of weird that someone flies from Qatar or Egypt and or some of these events, but there also could be billionaire fans. That happens all the time in these spaces. There are people with some ridiculous money, guys. Like, they have tons of money and they love these events and they spend the money coming down, flying, and just being in the room. I see them all the time. So I don't know. It's got to be evidence, and you also got to let the investigation play out. I hate that they're going after these things with Charlie, and he hasn't been gone very long, and it's just so messy. It's just so messy. All right, so here's something that I finally, guys, we talked about this maybe a month ago or much sooner than that, but finally mainstream media is taking notice to the Christian persecution happening in Nigeria and other places. And big shout out to our friends at CPAC. Matt and Mercedes Schlapp, they put together a coalition, a Christian persecution coalition that is bringing awareness and helping they had this meeting, they had a summit in DC at the Museum of the Bible. They had a big round table with some world leaders and influential people and faith leaders to bring awareness to what's happening. And now President Donald Trump has just the other day taken notice. So let's put this up really quick and take a look.
President Trump is ratcheting up the pressure on Nigeria. Islamic terrorists there have been murdering Christians as well as fellow Muslims for years. The president is threatening not just to pull aid from that West African country unless it stops, but also send in the military, as he put it, guns a-blazing. Let's bring in Fox News contributor Jonathan Morris. Jonathan, the president is obviously pretty upset about what's going on in Nigeria.
Okay, so I thought this was the clip
action the solution?
That showed the president, but apparently I thought I had it up. All right, so he goes on and talks about that the United States were going to. He tapped Department of War, Pete Hegseth, on taking a look. They found that it's true. And just today, I think it was, there was 50 people, or yesterday, 50 Christians that were just killed again. And it's happening by the dozens every day. Absolutely terrible. Now these groups are going through cities. They're just attacking everybody. It's pure genocide. And a lot of them are Christians. And here's another one by CBN News. Let's take a look.
Another 50 Christians have been gruesomely murdered in the ongoing genocide in Nigeria. Frank Uto, a Nigerian lawyer and native of Yelawata, joins us now. Frank, these 50 that have been killed recently, you were talking with me before we got started about the manner in which they were killed. It wasn't, a bomb or something. This was a gruesome event. Can you tell me how these 50 people died?
The way they kill our people is in the most horrific, the most gruesome, the most cruel manner anyone could ever think. It will make even the devil to shiver. Because what they do is that when they come around, you run into your hut, into your house. And then what they do is that they will now, cycle the house with fuel. They will lit fire on the house. And then when you are coming out, they will now hack you down with machete. So they're cutting you as if they're cutting a piece of wood. Not as even they're killing a wild animal. You don't even kill a wild animal that way. So they'll bust your brains with machete and you see spillage of brains. I believe you've seen some of these very horrific pictures. They are so graphic. I have hundreds of them in my phone right now. These are my siblings. These are my cousins. These are people I know so well. I know almost 80% of these people. As a matter of fact, some of them, I spoke to some of them a week before that thing happened. And anytime we speak, we talk with dread. We know that we are living on time bomb. We know that these things will come again. So every time I try to give them an advice, to keep their eyes open. But that was what happened. There are two of my aunties who were pregnant. One was pregnant with twins. They split open the stomach, they removed the twins, and then slaughtered the twin. So that's what's been happening. And when they are doing this, they begin to recite Allah Akbar, which unfortunately has become an internationally recognized slogan and motto for terrorists.
Mm-hmm.
It may have good intention. The words in Arabic says Allah is great or something like that. But unfortunately, it has become the most universally accepted slogan and motto for jihadists. So they'll be slaughtering these people and be chanting Allah Akbar. That's what we've been facing. And unfortunately, the government of our country, the government of our state is doing extremely nothing about this.
This has hopefully changed. President Donald Trump's pressure of no longer giving them aid has put pressure on the government. I hope it works. That, guys, is so horrific. Absolutely terrible to hear that our brothers and sisters across the world are dying horrific deaths, mothers, children. There's so many videos out there that it's not hard to find them on X especially, of people losing their lives, just being terrorized. And you wonder why you see these things happening. It's this Islamic extremist movement that's happening across the world. You don't hear about Christians doing this, but it's these groups. What is the point? Why are they moving across the world, killing Christians? Because they're supposed to kill every infidel. And Christians who believe in Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, to them is considered an infidel. And so this stuff that's happening is absolutely horrific, absolutely terrible. Not only do we pray, yes, prayer works. And faith in believing is, but faith without works is dead. We can't just sit here and do nothing. We have to continue to pound this down people's minds so they understand what's happening and continue to tell them what is going on in Nigeria and other nations, by the way, because even in Pakistan and India, Bangladesh, we've heard that there's some persecution happening. And of course, China, you're not just freely allowed to worship and have a Bible and have a church. Us Americans are so spoiled that we get to just, maybe wake up on a Sunday morning and maybe get dressed and go to church and nice air conditioning building with, the lights and the big LED screens, and the music better be right. The preacher better be right, or else I'm going to leave a church and move on. While these people would love to just worship freely, but they can't because they're being terrorized. So, let's put this into perspective, everybody. It's not just about praying, post something, say something. Let's get together, like people at CPAC that have got together and addressing the issues. We have to maybe call your senators, call your Congress people, and make sure they know that we're aware of what's happening across the world, and the world needs to take notice that Christians cannot be terrorized the way they are. All right, that's pretty much all I have time for. I had a little bit more information to give you guys, but I'll tell you what, tomorrow we're going to talk about faith, because, man, there's something stirred in my spirit when it comes to living a life with faith. I want you guys to know that your faith says yes. It's yes to God's will. It's yes to your life. It's yes to your financial, physical, emotional needs. Your faith, you can be healed, and God can do the miraculous in your life. And we're going to get into that this week. But let's continue to press on, press forward, hit that like and share button. Thank you for joining us so late, man. It's 10:39. I can't believe I'm still going. But you know what? Better late than never. We are not giving up. We're going to keep pressing on. Thank you so much, everybody. And God bless. We will see you soon.